Behind the headlines and political turmoil, there lies a figure whose decisions have reshaped an entire nation and sparked global controversies. A man, often labeled as the Frankenstein creation of the USA, his figure looms large in modern Israeli history. But beneath the political successes lies a darker narrative, one of corruption, oppression, and a relentless grip on power. This is the truth behind Benjamin "Bibi" Netanyahu, a name synonymous with power, controversy, and a legacy that has left a deep mark on the Middle East. For over 3 decades, this man has shaped the future of Israel, often at the expense of peace and stability in the region. Born in 1949 in Tel Aviv, Benjamin Netanyahu into a family steeped in Zionist ideology. His father, Benjamin Netanyahu, was a historian with a strong nationalist streak, which deeply influenced young Benjamin. Growing up in a household that prioritized Jewish history and Israeli statehood, Netanyahu's worldview was shaped by a combination of his father's teachings and the turbulent political environment of the 1960s and 70s. His family moved to the United States when he was a teenager, where Netanyahu attended high school in Pennsylvania and later studied at MIT and Harvard. These years abroad gave him a unique perspective, blending American values with his deep-rooted Israeli identity. But it wasn't just his education that shaped him. The tragic loss of his older brother Yonatan during the 1976 Entebbe raid, a daring mission to rescue hostages from a hijacked plane, left a lasting impact on Netanyahu. It was this loss that would fuel his political ambition and his hardline stance on security. Netanyahu's ascent to power began in the military, serving in Sayeret Matkal, an elite unit where he participated in several high-profile missions. He quickly transitioned to diplomacy and politics. By the 1990s, he had become the leader of the Likud party. In 1993, under the mediation of U.S. President Bill Clinton, the Oslo Accords were signed, representing the first direct, face-to-face agreement between Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization. They marked the first direct, face-to-face agreement between the two parties and were a significant step toward peace. It was the first time both sides formally recognized each other. But in Israel, an outcry against the peace process had been building among the ultra-religious right-wing and security-minded conservatives. The face of the opposition, a 43-year-old leader of the Likud party, Benjamin Netanyahu, known as Bibi.
PLO Islamic State, 15 minutes from Jerusalem or 5 minutes from Tel Aviv, is a prescription not for peace, but for dangerous and renewed conflict.
Week after week, Netanyahu watched the protests build. Concerned a Palestinian state would pose a security risk to Israel, Netanyahu maneuvered the growing anger into a political force.
He did not believe in the possibility of a deal with the Palestinians. He didn't trust them. He didn't like them. He doesn't. And he doesn't want to have a deal with them. He didn't want to have a deal with them.
Arafat is a very weak reed indeed. He gives cover to the Hamas. He makes a pretense of fighting them, but effectively allows them to attack us with impunity.
Netanyahu's opposition movement reached a fever pitch in October 1995, when tens of thousands crammed into the center of Jerusalem. From a balcony overlooking Zion Square, he addressed the crowd.
אנחנו פה כי יש לנו רק ירושלים אחד, ונשמור עליה.
The crowd was with him as he attacked Yasser Arafat.
של איש הדמים ערפאת.
And then the government of Yitzhak Rabin.
אני אומר כאן לממשלת ישראל, שמתרפסת בפני האיש הזה. Then, a month later, at the end of a rally of his own, Yitzhak Rabin was gunned down.
The assassin, a right-wing Israeli Jew, Yigal Amir. Outside the hospital, the crowd began to chant, "Bibi is a murderer." Rabin's widow blamed Netanyahu for contributing to her husband's death.
To what extent do you blame Mr. Netanyahu and the Likud for what has happened?
I do blame them. In a rally in Kikar Zion in Jerusalem, that showed him in the uniform of a Nazi. So Mr. Bibi Netanyahu, now he can say from here to eternity that he didn't support it and didn't agree with it, but he was there, and he didn't stop it.
In 1996, he became the Prime Minister of Israel for the first time and agreed to meet Yasser Arafat for renewal of Oslo Accords. But Netanyahu's political style was far from traditional. He capitalized on fear, uncertainty, and the ever-present threat of conflict to consolidate his power. His hardline stance against the Palestinians and his refusal to engage in peace talks without preconditions earned him both praise and condemnation. To many, he was the strong leader Israel needed. To others, he was a warmonger.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu continues to push back against international calls for a ceasefire.
Netanyahu's ability to manipulate media and public perception was key to his success. He portrayed himself as Israel's protector, the man who could defend the nation against its enemies, Mr. Security. But behind the scenes, his government was implementing policies that would lead to widespread human suffering. His tenure has been marked by aggressive policies, particularly towards the Palestinians.
Hitler didn't want to exterminate the Jews at the time, he wanted to expel the Jews. And Haj Amin al-Husseini went to Hitler and said, if you expel them, they'll all come here. So what should I do with them? Yes. He said, burn them.
Under Netanyahu's leadership, Israel's relationship with the Palestinians reached new lows. His policies of expanding settlements in the West Bank, a move condemned by the international community, further escalated tensions. Netanyahu's government was responsible for multiple military operations in Gaza, leading to thousands of Palestinian deaths. These actions drew sharp criticism from human rights organizations, who accused Netanyahu of war crimes and perpetuating a cycle of violence. Yet Netanyahu remained unrepentant, insisting that his actions were necessary to protect Israel's security. But it wasn't just the military that bore the brunt of Netanyahu's policies. The economic blockade on Gaza created a humanitarian crisis, with thousands of Palestinians living in abject poverty, unable to access basic necessities like clean water, food, and medical care.
Thank you. I speak to you today as a lifelong supporter and true friend of Israel. Today, we finally acknowledge the obvious, that Jerusalem is Israel's capital. I am also directing the State Department to begin preparation to move the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem.
We are in Jerusalem and we are here to stay. And our brave soldiers are protecting the borders of Israel as we speak today. We salute them all.
That day, around 50 miles south, at the border with Gaza, tens of thousands of Palestinians had gathered to protest the embassy move in Israel's ongoing blockade. Hamas urged protesters to break through the border fence. Israeli soldiers responded with rifle fire, killing more than 60 people. Netanyahu's reign has also been plagued by corruption scandals. Over the years, he has faced multiple investigations for bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. His luxurious lifestyle, funded by wealthy donors and shady business deals, stood in stark contrast to the image he tried to project as a leader of the people. In 2019, Netanyahu was officially indicted on charges of bribery and fraud, making him the first sitting Israeli prime minister to face criminal charges. The trial has been ongoing, with Netanyahu fiercely denying all allegations and accusing the judiciary of a witch hunt. Despite this, his grip on power remains strong, and he continued to lead Israel through multiple elections, each more contentious than the last. Even as his legal troubles mounted, Netanyahu's ability to manipulate the political system ensured that he stayed in power. Through backroom deals, alliances with far-right parties, and exploiting divisions within Israeli society, Netanyahu managed to hold on to his position as prime minister. Despite the controversies, his ability to appeal to the fears and hopes of the Israeli public has seen him re-elected time and again. Some ultra-Orthodox rabbis have gone so far as to suggest that Netanyahu's leadership is divinely ordained, a notion that has only added to his aura of invincibility. These claims have been used to rally support among Israel's religious right, further cementing his position. But whether these prophecies hold any truth is a matter of personal belief. What's undeniable is that Netanyahu's political career has been nothing short of extraordinary, marked by both immense power and profound controversy. In the heart of Jerusalem lies Al-Aqsa Mosque, a site sacred to Muslims around the world. But in recent years, tensions have risen as rumors and accusations swirl around Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's alleged plans to demolish this holy site and pave the way for the construction of the Third Temple. The Third Temple movement, a group of religious extremists, has openly called for the mosque's removal to make way for a new Jewish temple on the site of the ancient Temple Mount.
The idea of building the Third Temple is not just a religious aspiration. It's a political one. It symbolizes a form of ultimate control over Jerusalem, and for many, it represents the erasure of Palestinian history and presence in the city.
One thing is clear, Netanyahu's impact on Israel and the Middle East will be felt for generations to come. His leadership style, marked by aggression, manipulation, and a ruthless pursuit of power, has left a lasting mark on the region. Whether he is remembered as a protector of Israel or as a dictator who brought suffering to millions depends largely on who you ask. What was the reason behind Donald Trump's ascension to power? Check out this video to explore the journey that took him from Manhattan, New York, to the White House.